Thank you so much for having me, Jamie. You are amazing. I love you. I love this group. This just kind of came up today because we were talking about a video that I just made about reconnecting with your why. And if you don't know me, most of you already do, but my name is JJ, and I am a raw vegan mindset coach and the author of a book called How I Went From Sad to Glad. It's also in the background of me. My simple 4-step blueprint to transform your health, weight, and mindset to finally reach your goals with joy and ease. That was the longest title I could come up with. And I'm just kidding. I always say it and then I'm like, oh my goodness, I made that subtitle really long, but I wanted to explain what it was about, right? And then I also have a YouTube channel where I do a show called Amazing Transformations, and I also make videos just to help people really to stay connected with why it's so important to have the right mindset when you're doing this. And I also share like tips and different things that can help you on your raw vegan or high raw, I'll say, healthy lifestyle journey. And I guess that's enough about me for right now. We'll go ahead and get started. So if you want to connect though and have any questions, I have a worksheet that you can download. I'll give it to Jamie to connect if you're watching this later on. And it's just going to help you to kind of work through this and help you hopefully reconnect with your why and be inspired by the end of this. So this is called Rooted and Radiant because I feel like this group is radiant. Really, it's just, I was going to call it reconnecting to your why and letting it evolve. And this is, of course, our wonderful Ageless Beauty group call. Please make sure that you join if you're not already in here. It's such a nice community. Everyone is so kind and welcoming, and Jamie really has so many resources that it should be $1 million. By the time you see this, it might be, but right now it's not. Thankfully, because my card would decline for $1 million. Slide number 1 here. Of course, it has title slide on it. We're just going to fix that. I'm going to edit that out. But anyway, this is, again, I guess this is a duplicate. We have Reconnecting to Your Why by Coach JJ. All right, so let's start off with what is a why and why we ask for it. So a why, as we all know, is your reason or motivation for doing something. People ask why to understand and to basically accept what you're saying. If you think about it, if you call somewhere and you say, like, you look up my account and they just say no, and then they, that's it, you're going to be like, why won't you look up my account? Like, it's pretty much just self-explanatory when we are talking to other people, why we want to know, why should I do this? If your boss tells you to go outside, you're going to be like, why? Is there a fire drill? What's going on? So the same goes for ourselves. Our brain needs a meaning, and the why gives actions power and direction. So when it comes to anything, like whether it be your relationships, whether it be what job you have, or your health journey, it is always going to be connected to some kind of why. And later on, I'm going to share mine, what started all of this for me, and then you can also share this either out loud or on your worksheet. And of course, since we're recording this, this will probably be you can share it in the comments. How about that? So why we need a why in our health habits and healing. You won't stick with something just because you should, because if that were the case, we'd all be really on point with our health and wellness goals all the time. But a strong why creates consistency. And without one, we fall off or we lose steam. And the why is the root of sustainable change, I truly believe. So let me go ahead and explain what happened on my own journey. So like back in 2019, Dawn shared this video with me, and it was called, like, the actual name of it was Raw, RAW. And at that point, I was kind of the heaviest I'd ever been. I was 42 years old. I was suffering with chronic back pain. But at that point, this I was eating regular standard American diet, all the normal cheeseburgers. We were running a delivery service, so you can imagine we were always around food, and I was always trying the food. So I just was really at like a place where I wanted to lose weight. I had tried all these different kind of diets, like carnivore or not carnivore. Then it was called Atkins, right? I got that in my head because I keep getting comments from lots of people with the carnivores for some reason today. They're after me. But it was like the weight loss was my main motivation. I saw this video. People were talking about how they love eating all this fresh, vibrant food. How they had ended their type 2 diabetes. They had the first guy even said type 1, which I didn't even know was possible. All kinds of things. They had cleared up acne and skin conditions. They were losing weight. They had reconnected and felt all this energy and kind of, just really felt good from this raw food. And I'm like, I had never heard of anything like this. Like, they're not cooking their food. I literally thought it was crazy. But I'm like, since I've been trying to lose weight, I'm going to try to just eat this big salad for 3 days, right? And at the end of 3 days, all I was eating all day was these big, all kinds of fruits, vegetables, like cucumbers, I guess now are considered a fruit, but most of it like salad items. And at the end of 3 days, I have a salad challenge that I'm doing where I share all the ingredients in my salad. And even that salad has evolved over time. I've added on, but anyway, after 3 days, I felt so good that I just didn't want to stop. So I kept going. And this is something I always feel like it was a miracle, because coming from the standard American diet and going right into eating only fruits and vegetables. And then, like, if I was a little bit hungrier on certain days, I would eat some like cashews and avocado, you know what I mean? But I was just eating basically like a vegan, but I didn't even know what the word vegan meant then. And then the next thing I know, in 30 days, I woke up one day and I was moving around, and like this chronic back pain that I had had for like 18 years just disappeared. It was just always nagging me. And so then, as I always say, I was thinking, reflecting on my why. My why became not to ever have that chronic back pain show up. And then that year, I never got seasonal allergies. So at that point, it was like, okay, I never want to have seasonal allergies. Now I'm continuing to be a raw vegan because of that. So I was kind of like doing it in a so that these things didn't come back on. But and then something happened. It started becoming more about the energy I was feeling, the clarity that I had. It started like really making me get into this, started getting into like vegan communities, learning about nutrition and how raw food is so healing to other people, hearing other people's health journeys, learning how like I've been lied to and pretty much a lot of the health information I'd been taught, and learning an alternative holistic way to heal. And and then I started like sharing it with others, and I was really enjoying helping others that I created like in a Facebook group, helping coach them to do the same thing. Then I found out about animals, and I became like really driven by that mission to like save, or not support the animal industry, slaughterhouses and things. And so my original why really still matters, but it just became more in depth. And I was thinking, as people go along, maybe sometimes their why has to evolve. I had like a psychology background, so I'm always trying to think, what can I help people, like what perspective can I give them that would change and help them to be able to like connect with their health journey and make it so it's joyful and like something that they're into, something they feel good to be different than everybody else, instead of how a lot of people feel isolated. They feel like they have to do it. They feel like they're failing. And so I started thinking about how the why and reconnecting with that has helped me throughout my journey when I've started to get off track or feel like, maybe I should be eating like everybody else, or I want to, instead of, being ultra healthy, I want to eat this instead of my salad. And I think sometimes we outgrow our old why. So if your why no longer fits, that's okay. In fact, I don't even like talking about weight loss that much because I see there's so much more to it now. So a lot of my content, I do have some on weight loss because that's what draws people in, of course. But the thing is, I noticed it's not really about losing weight. It's about reaching optimal weight. It's about feeling good. And that is just like growth. And that was a natural change. But had my why not evolved, I wonder if I would have stayed with it. If it hadn't become about animals, would I still be vegan? If it hadn't become about, helping others, would I still be as motivated as I am? So we often feel like we're stuck, but we actually may have not just updated our why. So like I would say this, like think about it like a tree. Each one adds to the last. We're building building the foundation was that first little spark. And your original reason is still part of you. You're not replacing it. You're just building on it. Kind of like a relationship. When you first met, you might have been having fun with this person, but now, like you, and your, husband, it's like so many years later that now your why has evolved as to how much you still love him and based on different things, but you still have that original little, spark that happened that you can always reconnect with. And I would say whether it's your relationship, whether it's your job or anything that you're kind of get re-inspired with, maybe watch the documentary that inspired you, that if you're, and you can write down anything on your worksheet that you're trying to reconnect with, but if it's diet, like me, I like watching the documentary that inspired me. I literally go back to like 2019 and 2019 JJ that knew nothing about this. I felt so excited, like going out and getting all that stuff for the first time. Like, oh, I'm trying something new, a new diet, like new school supplies, but it was a bunch of lettuce. And so, or if it's a book, read that book. Reread your own posts. Like if you're a Facebook chronic poster like me that documents your life on Facebook, like reread your posts and journal entries. If you journal, look at old photos like before and after progress. Sometimes I'll watch some of my old content and that really like reignites me too because I remember where I was at that part in my journey. You can reach out to the person who inspired you. Remind yourself always how far you've come. People don't celebrate their little wins. They always think about, oh, I'm not doing this right, I'm not doing that right. But think about everything you have done and where you were maybe before you even found out about this, or where you started that job, or where you got into the relationship that you're trying to reconnect with. But that's important to always, write those things down too, because over time you forget because the negative stands out to us. That's where human brain works. Um, Number 10, we're going to slide 10 here. I'm just moving right along because I know probably I can talk too much, so I'm trying to keep it short.
Oh, you're good.
Um,
Good. I love this. Is great.
your why is actually going to help you in other settings too. So when it comes to being vegan or raw vegan, it's really hard to be different. And I think when we tell people our why, they gain more respect for why you're doing it. They realize sometimes when I tell them, oh, because I don't want to have chronic back pain, because I love how I feel, because this is just like what I do now. I love being, raw or high raw, wherever, whatever your diet is, or I love being vegan because I do it for animal rights, animal activism. Like when you tell people that, they're not likely to start dangling a drumstick in your face and here, take a bite after you've told them it's something in your heart, the reason you're doing it, or something you're doing to feel better. It becomes something that they will be able to understand, even if they don't agree or might never do it. And then who knows what could happen when you tell them the why. They might understand the why, and that becomes a bridge to help them understand, instead of saying you should eat that. It's more like, this is why I'm doing it. And I feel like that's helped me so much in my life of being different than everybody else around me for most of the time. um So now we're going to go ahead and reflect. If you want to share, since you're here, if you feel like it. If not, we can just let everybody do this on the worksheet. But I would love to know, if you're watching this on YouTube, in the comments, if you feel comfortable sharing, and that way it lets other people know too. What was your original why that sparked your interest in either holistic beauty, like what this group is? Like, why do you want to feel young? Why do you want to try to heal from the inside out? Why do you want to be raw vegan? Why do you want to be vegan? Whatever it is that you're trying to, that you're trying to celebrate with your why. And then we want to also, next line down on the worksheet says what has been added to it. So let's talk about, like, for example, mine was the weight loss, and then it became about ending, like, I was amazed I had this miracle of no back pain, and then it became about really loving the diet, then helping others, then animals. It kind of evolved. Anybody want to share?
I'll share.
Oh, not everybody all at once. Okay, Jamie.
Well, before you said something, can you scroll up? Because I'm trying to remember where your notes were up there. Way right. Oh, the rereading your posts. That is so true, because when I look at my old posts or my old reels, I'm like, wow, that was me, just glowing and shining. And we really have the power to re-inspire ourselves. We're always looking outside, but if we just go back to like the highest point in our life when we felt our best or we were doing everything right, and just listening to us shine and spread our truth, it really is re-inspiring. And also for me, I've been re-listening to my books
Right.
that I've been making on audiobook, and that just re-listening to my own books has been re-inspiring my own why, like helping me reconnect with that. It's funny because you talk about the weight loss, and I always say that, like, my initial why was to look, and feel amazing in my 60s, 70s, and 80s. And that was my original why, but also it was because I had my kids and I saw my health deteriorating, and I did gain a lot of weight. So it did actually, I think weight loss really was the start. And sometimes we get into I don't want to shame myself. I love myself. I love myself no matter what my body looks like. And then we get a little bit too comfortable,
Yeah.
But it's not about vanity, weight, having weight on you, because when you have extra weight on you, you're more susceptible to diabetes, disease, all kinds of ailments. And, yes, it's the aesthetic, but it's okay to want to lose weight. Like, we don't have to feel bad for having that desire. Because I think sometimes, when we have this, like, oh, I want to look good, I want to feel like thin or whatever, it feels like it's coming from this part of us that's vain or self-centered or egotistical or just, whatever it is. But, to lose weight for health reasons is totally acceptable. We're allowed to want that, to want weight loss and not feel bad about it.
Isn't it funny how that's shifted over time? Which, like you said, it's great that people are, that they're putting out there to love yourself more, but it also makes you, like you said, get comfortable within it. So you're absolutely right. And what I've realized is, even coming into this group, I was like, Ageless Beauty, when I first read the name of it, I'm like, I don't know if this is for me, because I never did, like, wear a lot of makeup and all this, you know what I mean? Like, when I first read the title, and then I realized once I was in here how much all of it is talking about healing and, like, looking beautiful from the inside out and appreciating yourself, and the things that you put on your body, how they can affect your, your skin, your hormones, whether it be clothes or makeup, or and any way we can do that naturally is really cool. And that we also talk about a lot about foods, you've shared with us in here and in your book, even talking about am I going to say it right? Is it a scene?
Oh, the Essene Path, Ageless Beauty. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, it's a good
that's
book.
so cool.
So
That's like their whole lifestyle, right?
yeah,
Like the
well, I mean,
whole
it's kind of an
relaxation.
assumption. We don't like really know. I think I say that in the book too. Like, is this really how they lived? But it's cool because I blended Ageless Beauty with the Essene path, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But what you were talking about earlier is like with the getting comfortable is like there's two extremes. And, you know, we're always trying to find balance because we could get to one extreme where we're obsessing about our looks and our body and we want to look amazing. But like you said, what is the reason that we want to look young? What is the reason that we want to be beautiful? Whatever it is, right? And
because that's why diets go up and down, right? Like I went up, I went on this diet, but I had no deeper connection to that diet like I do this one. That's interesting.
And then we get into like the perfectionism. Like I need to be perfect. I need to like this is what I want to be, and I have to do this. And if I don't, I don't know. I'm not good enough. I guess it is. And then you could get to the opposite extreme where you just don't care at all, and you're like 500 pounds, and you're stuffing your face, and you're like, I don't care what I look like, or,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, where's the balance there?
Where's gotta be?
Yeah, where does it, like how do we do this in a healthy way to where we're not stressing ourselves out, we're not shaming ourselves, we're not aiming for perfection out of unworthiness or striving because of vanity or egotistical reasons, that we're also like loving ourselves but not too comfortable to where we're completely letting our health go to the point where it's bad for us.
What if we reimagine what loving ourselves is, or change our perspective on that? Because when we say I'm loving myself, so I'm letting myself have this food, if we know truly like that's not what we want deep down inside, that could be, we could change what really loving ourselves means. Loving ourselves means giving myself stuff that's helping me instead of hurting me. And loving our body could be looked at like, this is such an interesting conversation. I feel like we could do a whole conversation on this, because you've got me really thinking deeper about that now. Like, loving my body doesn't mean I'm okay with it not being healthy. That's
right. Oh,
right.
that's true. Because you could say, well, I love like, let's say I'm overweight, like I am right now. I'm probably 30 pounds overweight right now.
No, I don't think so.
And I've accepted it. I'm like, this is where I'm at. Whatever. I don't even want to wear.
Too. I'm over.
Yeah, like it's like we go through fluctuations, but the point is that I'm not shaming myself. But because I'm not shaming myself and I'm loving myself where I'm at, it's not really giving me enough motivation to want to look and feel my best. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And you know what?
You almost need a little bit of that vanity or a little bit of that perfectionism,
right,
just to motivate you to get healthy, right? Because it's like, otherwise we're just like, I don't know, I'm cute, I love myself, my little rolls and whatever it is, But it's like, but now you're at risk for cancer and diabetes. So it's
and I was going to say, if we follow the process that we know works and works for us, that we can sustain, then the rest of it is just the outcome. I think we get too caught up on the results. Like that's hurt me before with like wanting to lose weight and then getting frustrated. But instead of worrying about the number on the scale, whenever I just work on eating as healthy as I can, it seems to work out and takes the pressure off. But you're right. That is so interesting that, we need a little bit of push, right? We need a little bit of like,
yeah. And now I'm trying to think, instead of having like these crazy goals to strive for me, it's been really healthy just to try to make good choices in the present moment. So like you're at a crossroads of, should I have this or should I have this? Or should I work out or should I not work out? Or should I go for a walk or should I stretch or whatever it is? It's like, which decision is going to align with the version of yourself that you want to become, which is going to bring you closer to the life that you want to live, like which one is not going to have negative consequences. It's like, there's so many ways to go about it. Yeah.
So like more times than not, I think we're in a good way, but we, like you said, you can't be perfect 100% of the time. And I think a lot of us on this raw food path have went to that point where we had to pull back from that perfection, mindset.
And I really had to let go of my diet right now, because I had to focus on my mental health and my nervous system. Not saying that you can't do both, but for me to compartmentalize, I couldn't do it. Like I literally had to just let go of that and just put all my attention into my nervous system and my mental health. And I feel like emotionally I'm feeling stronger than ever. But I let my body go, and my health, and my, not my health, I wouldn't say health, but my habits, my working out every day. But I was like working out to the point where it was probably hurting my nervous system because I was working out so much,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you might be able to like strip it all away to start back from a balanced point, it sounds like, which maybe is what, like, trees lose their leaves in the winter and then they rebuild. So sometimes we might have to like get to that point where we have to focus on the foundation. Like if we don't have our mental health, that also
Yeah.
affects our health.
Yeah.
And so maybe eating that apple instead of the, I don't know, quinoa bowl might have been what you really wanted to do. But if it was giving you cortisol or stressing you out, then that's not helping either. So
Yeah.
I started looking at it from a way different standpoint than I did even like 2 years ago, with how important mental health can be part of your healing and how it can affect everything in our body.
And I was watching this movie last night, a Hallmark movie, and this girl, she was a writer for a wellness magazine. And she went to a restaurant and she's like, just give me a garden salad, dressing on the side. She wasn't raw vegan, but she was eating like with a lot of discipline. Let's say Brian Johnson type discipline, right? And she wasn't raw vegan though, but she held the dairy. But I think she would eat like some fish or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking like this person's not raw, but they have more discipline and consistency than I do when I'm even eating raw or not raw, whatever it is, right? So even if you're eating raw, you could still have these very unhealthy habits. And then when you go back, if you fall back and you go back to cook food, if you haven't like created that discipline, created the consistency, worked through these addictions, you're going to binge, you're going to do all this stuff, right? Because you haven't implemented the, like you said, the foundation. So what I'm doing right now is I'm not being super strict on myself about anything diet related. And I'm really just trying to focus on mindful eating, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
And better habits of like stopping before I'm full, and maybe not eating late at night, and making better choices in the moment, like being able to say no to something that I don't want to eat, So
That makes really good sense. I think that's a place where we should all get to. I mean, and if that happens to be it's everything raw, that's great. As long as you're making a healthy choice, like you said, and not bouncing from I just ate, I don't know, I ate what's a fruit now? I'm losing it. Watermelons for 6 weeks, and then I went back to eating cheeseburgers, right?
A
Like we
lot of
don't
us
want
do
to play
that.
that
A lot
roller
of us
coaster.
do that, and that's the issue, is that we become so strict without doing the foundational work and working through the mental strength and the willpower and the discipline, that if we do falter, we go so far off the deep end. It really does happen to a lot of people. I don't know if a lot of people talk about it as much as we should, but and that's where like the why comes in. It's like, is that
Because if my why
why
isn't
strong
to be
enough to
perfect,
to pull you back? Because think about it,
yes.
people who have a why, they have diabetes, and they're like, what's your why? I don't want to die. I don't want to get my leg cut off. Like whatever it is, my sugar's out the roof, but they're still eating like pasta and ice cream because they can't. And their why would literally be, I want to live.
And that's like earlier in the presentation, I said, just because we should doesn't mean that we do, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't, that why has to be something you're leaning into or that you enjoy. Is what I think anyway. And like feeling aligned, because I feel most comfortable when I'm eating like the way I'm eating now. I'm not like super like, oh my gosh, like I had cashews today, they might not have been raw, or walnuts don't say raw on them. That's not the biggest goal. The biggest goal is I'm eating walnuts instead of a Snickers. Like that's
Right,
cool.
right.
We get to celebrate where we are. If you're craving
Yeah,
something and you can make a better choice, it's amazing. Like,
that's
because
true.
I saw a comment today, I think it was on the Too Raw for Y'all, I think it is, like the wellness group. And Katrina and someone thought that they were not doing good because they had stopped after like the third day of a mono meal fast. And it was like everybody was telling them in the comments, like, that's cool that you even did that. Most people don't even do that. But I think when we start from an extreme place, sometimes that's another video I just made. I don't know if I sent that to you, but it was like, maybe we don't start with the detox. That's great if you want to do it later on. But in the beginning,
Yeah.
it might be good to just start with a balanced diet to start with. And then as you feel good and you feel like I can go without food for 3 days. Like, once you're in that zone or that path, if you want to fast, like to clear out or whatever. But
like gradual changes, making gradual
doing that from the
changes.
beginning
Yeah.
puts a negative on it, and so I went extreme into salads, but I couldn't have went extreme into maybe one thing, just eating lettuce for 2 weeks. I may have been right now having diabetes and all kinds of stuff because I would have never gotten into this. And I think the reason it worked is because I found a way that I could enjoy it and make it work for me. And I think that's where you are right now. Like, you and your
I mean,
husband,
eating raw
so
is my goal. Like, it's always my goal. No matter what I'm doing, like, it's like, no matter how I'm eating, I see myself as a raw vegan. I feel like a raw vegan.
Me too.
Like,
Yeah.
even if I fall off or like I go a period of time where I'm not eating fully,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like, I don't know, it's an identity, I guess you would say. But back to the why, here's the interesting part, is that back to the person who has diabetes and their why is like, well, I want to live, but yet they still can't stop their addiction, even though they have the risk of dying or getting a leg cut off, right? They still can't stop themselves. But when you said doing like something of service, right? Like some kind of purpose work or community, like your why shifted from weight loss to now vegan for animals and like protecting animals. And you took that why from self-centered now to outsourcing it to like selflessness.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think about it, like when I first started on this journey, I wasn't doing it for animals. I wasn't doing it for environment. I didn't even know about that stuff. Now I know about that stuff, and it definitely helps. I struggled with going vegan for so long for health reasons. After moving here to LA and being around so many ethical vegans, it has helped me. I've been fully vegan without straying for years now. And I used to struggle in the past because my why was like, maybe I didn't want acne from eating dairy or whatever it was,
Yeah.
So now, like, I'm thinking of like the animals, or I've been watching a lot of documentaries about the environment, and just knowing that our decisions affect the world that we live in and that we have the power to make a difference really helps us to make better choices. And then the thing about like creating a community or doing things for other people, like even what you're doing, having that reason to need to set the example or to be a role model, or maybe for your child or for your mom, or like we initially went raw or vegan, me and my mom, because my aunt got cancer. So we went
That was
vegan.
selfless in the beginning.
Yeah, it was.
Except it was
Actually,
probably like
that was
also,
the original reason we went vegan.
yeah.
My raw vegan journey was about weight loss, but when I first went vegan, it was because of my aunt. We wanted to inspire her, So that was, it was technically selfless.
And then it probably became also part of yourself because you're like, I don't want to deal with this later on, right? It's like, it's
Well,
like
no, I just started feeling really good, and I naturally
Yeah.
lost weight. Yeah, because
That's
I had like
amazing.
I had a gluten belly, and I had like facial bloat, rosacea, brain fog, all these things when I was like 16, 17, 18. Then went vegan with my mom. The weight started falling off. This is even before I went raw, But then I started looking really good. And I say that like, vanity, we're talking aesthetics here. But when somebody looks good, naturally they're most likely radiating health from the inside out, right? So
I think you look really good. You keep talking about that you're not on the
thank you. Hold on.
Look at that, ladies. Are you kidding me? She's saying that she needs to lose weight.
But when I had my kids, I gained so much weight, and I was just eating so much junk food. I felt so inflamed, and it all just came rushing back, but 10 times worse.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be because I noticed just from being changing from 42 to 48. Well, that didn't happen overnight, over 6 years rather. But like now, my weight is so different. Like when I want to lose weight, it's not as easy. So it lets me know that hormones, and as we get older, and different insulin patterns and things can play a big role. And that's probably why when people, obviously having a child makes your hormones go nuts, right? So it's harder even right after it, I'm sure, to lose it. And so that makes a lot of sense. It's hard. It's like so much involved. I think people that paint these pictures of this black and white, like do this and you'll lose weight. Well, not everybody, and not that you can't, but there are differences in different things. Men, women, metabolism, we all have, I agree, the same digestion. And I think raw vegan can, if you do it right, as far as right meaning getting the right amount of nutrients and also all the other balancing life things, I think it can be so good and heal and lose weight. But there are certain isolated situations where that weight loss isn't going to happen the same as it would for someone else based on, like, well, absorption, one thing, but also like thyroid. And I'm learning so much about different systems in the body and stress levels. Like there are things that you have to look at. So I would say don't get discouraged and don't rush it. Just let your body do what it needs to do in the time it needs to do it. And that's the hardest thing, especially if you're trying to meet a goal of losing weight, right? Or it's hard to
But
just
then you go back to the why. Why is your goal losing weight? What is the reason behind wanting to lose weight in the first place? Is it just
so I
wanting?
don't have to buy new jeans.
Yeah. I told my daughter, I said, I'm not buying any because I wear like yoga pants every time I see her. She's like, are you ever going to wear something else or like dress cute? And I was like, when I lose weight, I've got tons of clothes. I said, I'm not buying any new clothes until I lose the weight.
That's right, because then you're giving yourself permission, right, to
Yeah,
be
no,
that way.
so that's a motivation for me.
Oh man, that's so good. I love the additions you added in there.
Yeah, there
I
was. So
think
what was
they
what
were
was the other
all.
question down at the bottom?
Oh,
Um,
let's see. Okay, where were
oh,
we?
wait,
Oh,
we're
here we
getting
were.
there.
I think we were at, what would your day one self say to you today?
Oh, day one self.
You can think about it if you don't know right offhand. That's a tough one, isn't
What
it?
did your day one say to you today?
Hold on and enjoy the ride, because you're going to go through a lot of evolution here,
That's so
especially
true.
from
That's
that
so
first
true.
video. Like, I would say you don't know everything,
You don't know
JJ.
everything, and be open minded to change, right? Yeah.
Because I've changed so many times within this journey. Like, I thought raw, I didn't even know that it was a thing like that, that there was a problem with cooked food, right? Like, not that there's a problem, I don't mean to say it like that, but like when I did it, it was just basically because I was like, oh, this looks nice, all these vibrant foods. And then like eventually I understood within my own path, I was like, oh, but you can be vegan, and they got all these products that you can get that just like the old chicken sandwich and da da da. And then I like shot up and like started eating really unhealthy and veganism. And then I realized something called whole food plant-based. And I was like, oh wait, there's a healthier way to do it. You are supposed to eat like potatoes and rice. And then I found out again about fruit. And I was like, oh wait, we're supposed to eat fruit. Maybe I wasn't eating enough fruit. And then I started eating a lot of fruit. And then I started eating less salads. And then I was like, I want to be a fruitarian. And then I went back to eating fruit and salad, and all the way back to the exact place I started. Looks like I had it right from the beginning in
Wow.
2023. I was like, now I'm back to raw vegan again. I went on this like roller coaster ride, but it was all, I learned new things each time, learned about myself, learned what it works best for me. And I feel like I'm at the best place in my journey right now because I'm not so dogmatic about things, but I'm also like you, I think I'm a raw vegan. Like that's where I always feel most aligned,
Yeah.
so that's always
It's
like,
interesting because now that you told me yours, I'm thinking for me, what my day one self would say would be stay humble.
yes,
Yeah. Stay
yes,
humble
like,
and have compassion for other people who are not where you're at. And also because you're your journey could change, like you could be thriving high, doing all the right things, and then you lose your house or you get a divorce or something happens and you completely come crumbling down, and all those people that you had this
shunned or whatever.
like you shunned because you were like, you had the superiority complex of like, I'm better, like look how I'm eating or look what I'm doing. And then like we tend to, our mind gets in, like, even though like we're not always judgmental, sometimes deep down we could be judgmental towards others who are not taking care of themselves, or they're smoking or they're drinking or they're stuffing their face with
I've been through there, through all of
we've
that.
been there, right?
I get it.
We've all been there. We have to remember that we've all been there, and we could be there again. Like, we don't know what the future holds. Like,
That's right.
You could be raw for 30 years and then like something happens and then you're like, what happened? I ended up falling off and I'm having a hamburger now or something. You know what I mean? So we have to stay humble for sure. Yeah.
Yes, we definitely do. I think that's a great thing. And I think people that, especially in the vegan world, we have to remember to be compassionate to other humans too. And I think that
well, like the person you said who did the 3-day watermelon or mono cleanse and then fell off, and then somebody was saying something about how they didn't last. Even that's a form of judgment, like let's say like even
they're judging themselves. Like she said it about herself. She was upset. I'm like, that's a self.
Oh yeah, you could judge yourself. But like even like this is a big one. Let's say I saw in a group where they were doing a watermelon cleanse, and this person posted a picture of watermelon that was seedless, and then you had all these people commenting about how don't eat seedless, blah blah blah. And
oh my gosh,
it's very discouraging for somebody who may just be starting out, or maybe they don't,
Yeah, how about congratulating them for eating watermelon instead of what they were probably eating the week before? Like,
right.
You forget where we are in seasons on this journey. That reminds me, like, we start kindergarten like a kid. We don't give them a calculus book, right? Like, we allow them to find, we don't expect them to know everything, but I think when it comes to like raw food or like being vegan, or some people that are whole food plant-based, somebody's a brand newbie in a new beginners group and they say something and you're going to tell them why they didn't eat organic or like a seedless or whatever you just said. You know what I mean? Like, let them evolve on their own. You can mention it, but don't, whatever you do is not how they're going to come in. Like, think about when you started this, we didn't know anything. So if somebody had shut me down for eating the wrong kind of
discouraged, or you don't feel confident to share, or you don't want to open up, or yeah.
So true.
But even
I'm glad that you have such a supportive community, and that's how my community is. Like, we are definitely welcoming, because that's the most important part. How they say that the most impressionable age, the very first part, if you get someone to try to eat healthy or try to be vegan and you shut it down in the beginning, you could have ruined their journey instead of what you intended to do is help. I understand we have all this information in our head and we just want to help people, but
if you think about it deep down, this is addiction recovery. The raw vegan lifestyle is food addiction recovery. So like if you went to an AA meeting and I don't know, you were like, you had a relapse or something, and then everybody just started like throwing all these comments at you, like, well, you shouldn't have done that, and this is like really bad, and blah, like you wouldn't want to show up to another AA meeting ever again.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is supposed to be very supportive, like life, we're all supposed to like support each other where we are in the journey, and realize, like, be compassionate that everybody in this lifestyle is literally trying to overcome a lifelong addiction since birth.
That is so true.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you for sharing. This has been so fun.
Yes, it sure has. I just in the end here, it just the biggest thing, I think, just what you were saying, and remember, any setbacks that you have are just maybe growing and evolving to a new why. It's nothing to we are and I don't even know what we would call a setback, because if we're not striving for perfection, but if you're not doing the habits that you feel like you should do to stay on your healthy path, then it's just could be just you need to reconnect with your why. And my old little tagline, you don't only need a meal plan, you need a mind.
Love that.
Plan got cut off, but we know what it was.
Mind plan. That's genius.
Good thing it wasn't on a slide. I
It's
couldn't
not just
edit.
about the food, it's about the mindset. I love that. And I love how motivating you are, how inspiring you are. I love all your videos. It really, really inspired me when we saw your video today. So, yeah.
Thank you. And I think you inspired this conversation because now you just reminded me earlier, you said when you were listening to your audiobooks, by the way, go check out all her books. It reminded you of your deeper why, like why you started.
Not just with diet, but like just the whole reconnecting to this Ageless Beauty brand, this whole community, like this message that I'm sending to women. Even that, I felt like I had to reconnect with my why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even like the Raw Food Worldwide meetup, you know, like it doesn't matter what you're doing, like you have to reevaluate your why and update it. Like why are we doing anything,
right?
Yeah. Why are we doing anything?
I love that. This was such a good conversation.
I know. I'm gonna post this whole thing. Yeah, this was really good. This was fun.
Thank you for letting me come on. I'm gonna go eat that salad I keep talking about now.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. I love this group. I hope everybody joins and tell them JJ sent you. Just kidding.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you.